a summer where the sun barely shines. Snow falls in the middle of the year, and food disappears from the shelves. That's exactly what happened in 1816, a year most people have forgotten, but it changed the world forever.
Hardly anybody at the time realized the true reason that we know today, and that was that on the other side of the planet, the year before, in 1815, a volcano had erupted in Indonesia called Mount Tambora. And that is the greatest volcanic eruption in recorded history.
A massive volcanic eruption on the other side of the world led to weather so strange and cold that it caused crops to fail, people to starve, and even sparked huge changes in history. This event is known as the year without a summer. But why don't we hear more about it? And how did something so strange happen? In 1816, the world was very different from today. Europe had just finished fighting the Napoleonic Wars, where many countries battled for control of the land. People were trying to rebuild, and many farmers in Europe and the United States were struggling. The Little Ice Age, a time when temperatures were cooler than normal, was still affecting the weather. The weather was often cold and summers were short. Most countries relied on farming, so a change in the weather could be disastrous. But nothing could prepare them for the disaster that was about to happen. On April 10, 1816, Mount Tambora, a giant volcano on the island of Sumbawa in Indonesia, erupted. It was one of the biggest volcanic eruptions in history. The explosion was so powerful that it could be heard 1,600 kilometers, 1,000 miles away. It released 50 cubic kilometers of ash and rock into the sky, enough to fill 2 million Olympic swimming pools. The eruption caused the deaths of around 100,000 people in the nearby area and destroyed entire villages. But that wasn't the worst part. The volcanic ash shot into the sky, reaching the stratosphere, high up in the atmosphere. This ash didn't just stay around the volcano. It spread across the globe, blocking out sunlight and cooling down the Earth's surface. When Mount Tambora erupted, it didn't just create a temporary disaster. The volcano caused a global cooling effect that lasted for more than a year. The ash that went up into the sky created sulfate aerosols, tiny particles that spread out and reflected sunlight away from the Earth. This cooled the planet by about 1 degree Celsius, 1.8 degrees Fahrenheit. Though this may sound small, even a small drop in temperature can have huge effects on the weather. In 1816, the world experienced strange weather. People reported snow in June, frosts in July, and rain almost every day. Some places were colder than usual, while others were hit with floods or extreme weather patterns. The skies were dark and the weather was unpredictable, leaving people confused and frightened. The year 1816 is now known as the year without a summer, and for a good reason. The cold weather didn't just affect 1 or 2 places, it was felt all over the world. In New England, America, crops like corn and oats didn't grow because the temperatures were too cold. In Europe, France, Britain, and Germany also faced crop failures. People could not grow enough food, and many were left hungry. From May to August of 1816, weather across the globe was unseasonably cold. It regularly snowed in New England, and London was pelted with hail. It was during this freezing volcanic winter that Mary Shelley drafted the dark tale Frankenstein while on holiday in Switzerland. In his daily diary entry from July 4th of 1816, John Quincy Adams complained that he was confined to his house in London all day due to freezing rain showers and thunder. Many of his subsequent entries that summer contain similar lamentations. The cold weather was not just bad for crops, and it was bad for everything. Farmers couldn't harvest food, people couldn't get enough to eat. As a result, the price of food skyrocketed, making it even harder for people to buy the food they needed to survive. In Europe, food riots broke out and people were desperate for something to eat. Meanwhile, in Asia, countries like China and India faced monsoon failures, causing droughts and even famine. Around the world, millions of people were facing hunger and poverty, all because of the eruption in Indonesia.
So corn planted would often be frozen to the ground come June. Some people were out in their fields in June and July wearing overcoats and mittens because of this crazy year without a summer.
The cold weather from Tambora's eruption created widespread famine. In Europe, people ate anything they could find to survive. and the lack of food led to widespread malnutrition. In parts of Ireland and Germany, farmers lost their entire crops, and without food, people died from hunger-related diseases. In India, the failed monsoons led to droughts, and many farmers couldn't grow crops, leading to widespread starvation. It was estimated that about 200,000 people died from hunger in India alone. In total, it's believed that the year without a summer caused the deaths of around 1 million people worldwide. Even though most of the world struggled in 1816, some unexpected things happened that would shape the future. In America, many people from New England moved westward to the Midwest to find better farming land. This movement led to the growth of new cities and towns, and helped the country expand its borders. The strange weather also influenced literature. In the summer of 1816, Mary Shelley and Lord Byron were staying at a house by Lake Geneva in Switzerland. Because of the gloomy weather, they spent most of their time indoors, telling stories to pass the time. This gloomy summer inspired Mary Shelley to write Frankenstein, one of the most famous horror novels in history. Moreover, the extreme weather and crop failures helped spark interest in climate science. Scientists began to notice the connection between volcanic eruptions and weather patterns. The eruption of Mount Tambora opened the door for future studies on how natural events can affect the Earth's climate. The world didn't have the same kind of media or communications that we have today to spread the word about a global disaster. Because of this, many people didn't know just how bad the effects of the eruption were. Scientists are always monitoring volcanoes to see if another eruption like Tambora could happen. Some volcanoes, like Yellowstone in the United States, have the potential to cause massive eruptions. If one of these volcanoes were to erupt, we could see another volcanic winter where the weather gets colder and crops fail, leading to hunger and hardship again. The year without a summer is a reminder of how fragile our planet's weather can be. A single eruption in one part of the world can cause problems for everyone. The event shows how connected we all are and how small changes in the Earth's atmosphere can change the course of history. It also teaches us that we must be prepared for the unexpected, because as history has shown, anything can happen.